don't know about you, but I'm a little tired. Christmas takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to get everything together, and our attempt to make everything just right in the midst of that takes even more energy. For so many volunteers who've helped out here at the church to make this a truly beautiful and wonderful season of Advent and Christmas, and then for all the many things that we do for our families. It's always intense at Advent as we gather all the needs that we dream that we can meet. And we do that because we're all wired a little differently and our heartstrings play at different frequencies. And so there are different needs that must be met in some way. So we offer a variety so that whatever language your heart speaks, something will speak to it and give you an opportunity for generosity. We'll talk at the end of worship about our Christmas Eve dream and where we stand now at the completion of the RIP Medical Debt campaign. But for now, I wanted to kind of share with you this morning a few thoughts about Christmas and joy and compassion. And I think it's appropriate that we hear these words from Howard Thurman, who wrote, "When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flocks, the work of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among the people, to make music in the heart." I always go back to that last section of Charles Dickens' famous book, A Christmas Carol. And it was said of Scrooge that he knew how to keep Christmas in his heart all the year long. And that's always moved me because that's really the call to discipleship of every Christian as we've come out of Christmas. What often hits me, though, and this is probably one of my most problematic Bible passages that I wrestle with, is Matthew 26. Jesus says in verse 11 that we will always have the poor with us. I really don't like that. That is really frustrating for me that Jesus says that. It says to me that no matter what we do, the greed of this world will always create a cast-off group of people who will be dehumanized and set aside. No matter what we do, no matter how much we raise, no matter how many we feed, no matter how many we shelter, the poor will always be with us. And it begins to speak doubts within my own heart to say that no matter what we do, no matter how great our efforts, no matter how strong our resolve and compassion, that it will never be enough. And so it is easy for us to become frustrated and overwhelmed with all the needs shouting for our attention. It's easy to just look then at our own needs and say, well, I don't have enough to meet all these needs out here. I might as well just meet extra needs in here. It then tells us the lie of scarcity. Oh, you don't have enough. You should not be generous. You don't have enough to be generous with. So we begin to define ourselves by what we do not have instead of what we do. It becomes so easy to just say we don't have enough for ourselves, let alone to share with others. And yet within that, we still hear God's call to not just remind us of our joy, but in the midst of uncovering and rediscovering our joy, we recognize what? The abundance. The abundance of friendships and positive relationships. The abundance of God's love. Eunice Pike worked with the Mazatec Indians, and the mission was located in southwestern Mexico. During her time there, she discovered some interesting things about these beautiful people. For instance, the people seldom wish someone well. Not only that, they are hesitant to teach one another or to share the gospel with each other once they've learned it. If asked, "Who taught you to bake bread?" the village baker answers, "I just know." meaning he has acquired the knowledge without anyone's help. Eunice says that this odd behavior stems from their concept of limited good. They believe that there's only so much good, so much knowledge, so much love to go around, and to teach another means that you might drain yourself of knowledge. To love a second child means you have to love the first child less. To wish someone well, have a good day, means you've just given away some of your own happiness, which then cannot be reacquired. That's a really sad way to live, isn't it? But we know, after looking closely at joy these past weeks leading into Christmas, that there is a message within the gospel that flies directly against that cultural notion. Because that cultural notion isn't just from some remote part in Mexico, part of a deep cultural tradition of a native tribe. It's alive and well within the world that we live in, telling us of our scarcity. Well, you can't believe in that and still love those people. And the gospel pushes back against that. What we've been taught about joy pushes against that. We know that joy is a fountain that never dries up, and it is a gift from God. We cannot give away all of our happiness. We actually become what? More aware of joy in our lives when we do give to others. It is the exact opposite for those who follow Christ. And we then give each according to our station or our resources. It's not a magical amount. It's just about our own personal relationship with Jesus Christ that manifests itself in the lives of others through generosity and love. The story is told that one day a beggar from the roadside asked for alms from Alexander the Great as he passed by. The man was poor and wretched and had no claim upon the ruler, no right even to lift his hand and ask for anything. Yet the emperor threw him several gold coins. A courtier was astonished at his generosity and commented, "Sir, a copper coin would have adequately met the beggar's need. Why give him gold?" Alexander responded in royal fashion, "Copper coins would suit the beggar's need, but gold coins suit Alexander's giving." What coins suit the disciples of Jesus? What gift is appropriate for those who follow the way? Dave Simmons tells this story about sacrificial love. He says, 2 weeks after the stolen steak deal, his dog stole his steak right off the plate. He says, "I took Helen, who was 8 years old, and Brandon, who was 5, to the Cloverleaf Mall in Hattiesburg to do a little shopping. As we drove up, we spotted a Peterbilt 18-wheeler parked with a big sign on it that said Petting Zoo. The kids jumped up and down in a rush and asked, 'Daddy, Daddy, Daddy, can we go? Please, 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 can we go?' 'Sure,' I said, flipping them both a quarter before walking into Sears. They bolted away, and I felt free to take my time looking for a scroll saw. A petting zoo consists of a portable fence erected in the mall with about 6 inches of sawdust and 100 little furry baby animals of all kinds. Kids pay their money and stay in the enclosure entrapped with the squirmy little critters while their moms and dads shop. A few minutes later," he says, "I turned around and I saw Helen walking along behind me. I was shocked to see she preferred the hardware department to the petting zoo. Recognizing my error, I bent down and asked her what was wrong. And she looked up at me with those giant limpid brown eyes and she said sadly, 'Well, Daddy, it cost 50 cents. So I gave Brandon my quarter.' And then she said the most beautiful thing he said that I have ever heard. She repeated our family motto, and their family motto is, 'Love is action.' She had given Brandon her quarter, and no one loves cuddly furry creatures more than Helen. She had watched Sandy take my steak, and I responded, 'Well, love is action.' She had watched both of us do and say 'love is action' for years around the house and Kings Arrow Ranch. She had heard and seen 'love is action,' and now she had incorporated it into her little lifestyle. It had become part of her. So what do you think I did? Well, not what you might think. As soon as I finished my errands, I took Helen to the petting zoo, and we stood by the fence and watched Brandon go crazy petting and feeding the animals. Helen stood with her hands and chin resting on the fence and just watched Brandon. I had 50 cents burning a hole in my pocket for her, but I never offered it to her, and she never asked for it. Because she knew the whole family motto. It's not love is action, it's love is sacrificial action. Love always pays a price. Love always costs something. Love is expensive, and when you love, benefits accrue to another's account. Love is for you, not me. When you love, benefits accrue to someone else. Love gives, it doesn't grab. Helen gave her quarter to Brandon and wanted to follow through with her lesson. She knew she had to taste the sacrifice. She wanted to experience that total family motto, love is sacrificial action. The real joy of Christmas is that we don't follow Jesus just at one time or one season of the year. But this one time of the year reminds us of the power of generosity that should accompany us all the year long. It reminds us that we can make a difference and that we don't have to give out of obligation, but that we give out of compassion. And some gifts will be less sacrificially given on our part than others, while some things that we do out of love hurt tremendously to do the right thing. We give because God has given us so much, and out of that love we give back. That is compassionate joy. Not worrying about how great the need is, not being concerned that the poor will always be with us, but for us to respond within our means in a generous way. Do you remember the story of the starfish? Of the man who walks on the beach and sees the little boy with all these beached starfish, and he's grabbing them and flinging them into the water as fast as he can. It's an old story. It's a great one, so I'm telling it to you again. The man goes up to the little boy and he goes, "Look at these thousands of starfish. You're never going to get them all back into the water. Why are you even trying? You're not going to make a difference." And the little boy, without stopping to even look up at the man, grabbed another starfish and flung it into the ocean and said, "I just made a difference for that one. I just made a difference for that one. I just made a difference for that one." The poor will always be with us, but we just made a difference for that one. And in the midst of that, we begin to understand that there is more shared humanity between us and others than we might realize, and that is the true gift of generosity. Is there's a generosity of spirit in missional giving of our time and our talents and our treasure that not just makes a physical difference in somebody's life by putting food on a table or a roof over a head, but also a change in our own heart. There is a transformation that takes place when we are generous and we see someone who is in need of anything, something, whatever, big, small, somewhere in between. And not because we gallantly ride up to give as a benefactor, but we come alongside and we love as the Christ. Not near as good as he can, but we're all still learning. We don't worry about how great the need is. We just simply respond within our means in a generous way. So joy does not move on from us this Christmas season. It's not like, okay, the greenery is going to be gone on the 12th, and now we're not going to talk about joy anymore. But joy waits for us. Joy is awaiting us to accompany us into the new year, filled with possibility to make a difference in the lives of others. What might joy challenge you to do in the weeks and the months yet to come? How might your faith in Jesus Christ take the next step? Can our sense of generosity continue to grow, not in dollar or gift only, but in presence that others need? Reassurance of our common humanity. Joy is ready. How about you? In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.